Okay, the recording has started, so I can officially start with the content for today. We are discussing chapter 8. I will be going through some of the content to give us some idea or grounding within the theory. And then I will take us through a case study similar to what we did 2 weeks ago. This will be slightly different. I'll only group you into 3 groups, so it'll be less, more people in a room and less groups. And there's only 3 questions per group, so it's going to be a little bit less answering, also less. How can I say? Time that we'll need to spend. I'll still give you guys enough time. And then we will come back. We will share each phase. So I'll explain further, more detail when we get there. But each group will have a spokesperson. You will be nominated by the group, and that spokesperson will then jot down some of the answers and give feedback to the bigger class group about, phase number 1. And then group 2 is the same. Phase number 2, group 3, phase number 3. Okay. And then we will also, I'll not go through the memo. The memo will be made available at about 8 o'clock, 8:30, or the model answer, not the memo. It's not, yeah, model answer or distinction level answer. And we will end with some questions around anything that you may have. In terms of the project, I have only just begun to download and put the presentations in the right folder and allocate people's names to the groups, etc. And I haven't even started with like getting the group rubrics and as in like the individual mark thing, but I will be marking that. I hope to give you feedback by the 15th of May, but I cannot make any promises about that day. That's just my ideal. I'd like to get it done and out of the way before the FISA arrives, just for my peace of mind. But with all the long weekends and family commitments, it is what it is. So I will definitely announce when those marks are available on SOS, and so that you guys can know what you need to do for the FISA as well. Okay. Are there any questions before I start? I have recorded, so we can kind of get right into it, I think. Let me just share. Oh, my internet. If I drop out at any stage, please do stay on the line. I'll come back in when I can. The internet has been very spotty this last week. It's very frustrating, so I do apologize if it is interrupted and causes inconvenience and disturbances. Okay, so chapter 8, commercial strategies and tactics. We are, this is slide number 1. We are in the introduction. So I'm going to preface this introduction by saying that this last chapter deals with the entire commercial management framework as a whole. So it deals with the intent phase, the deal creation phase, and the execution phase. So it will overlap many of the chapters we have covered before, namely some strategy, some buyers things, some sellers things from chapter 1. It'll talk about contract. It'll talk about cost overruns from the project management. It'll be some best practice sprinkled in there. So chapter 8 is an all-encompassing kind of like summary chapter, but it deals specifically with a helicopter view of the entire structure, if you want to call it like that, or look at it like that. So in the name, it says there, or in the first line, it says it examines commercial practice across the project life cycle, both from the demand side as well as the supply side perspectives, so that you understand both ends. And it talks about and links those demand side processes and, as well as the supply side bidding cycles. So there's it's kind of like circles within circles, or cycles within cycles. There's many things going on simultaneously and concurrently, and that's why the picture is so powerful, in that it really shows you in a overview, but it can get really detailed as well. So in terms of purchases, we'll talk about how you articulate your requirements for the asset and the services thereof. So that's the operation phase and near the end. And then how do you manage the process of asset service to definition and delivery successfully? There's, in this cycle or process, we need to talk about procurement systems. No, it's jumped again. I don't know why it's jumping to slide number 25, but let's go from here. Okay. Apologies. From the demand side, it addresses how suppliers can identify prospective opportunities. So that's potential opportunities, in another word, and then develop and communicate proposals for the supply of those assets or services. From the demand side, it's also talks about or speaks about managing the deal creation stage and ensuring that the commitments made are profitable. So this whole chapter 8, is subdivided into 3 sections. And as you can see there, intent is the first phase or section. The deal creation phase has many things under it. That's phase 2 or section 2. And then execution, which is the operation thereof. Like, how do we bring this into operation? That's the last section that we will deal with. And so I want you to think about it in those different phases, so that when you are approaching your, let's call it this case study, you're thinking of it in those separate phases, and then at the end you can bring it into one big overarching analysis, if you want to call it like that. It helps you compartmentalize what is needed for the different sections of work or project, kind of like a work breakdown structure. It helps you subdivide the parts of a larger project. It just helps you keep on track and focused within a specific section, and think about it that way. So the intent phase, or the some call it, you could bid, and then the deal creation, that's like the contract side, and then execution is more operational. Okay, so let's move to slide number 4. So procurement here, they speak about the systematic process of deciding what, when, and how much to purchase. So it's the act of purchasing something in terms of procuring a set thing. And we all have this department, procurement department, a business function that ensures identification, sourcing, access, and management of external resources that an organization needs and may need to fulfill its strategic objectives. So if you're a university, you need a lot of computers, because there's a lot of students needing to access or use computers, personal computers, and they need to be of a certain quality, and they need to be refurbished or like bought regularly to keep up to date with the, especially if you're a university of technology, all the tech that is coming out, and faster speeds and more processing power and all of these crazy things. So that's the strategic objective, is for us to be competitive in that space in terms of pushing the foundation or the fundamentals of like getting better and better in terms of technology. So our resources within the university must match that, but it's expensive. And so that's where it comes in terms of the management function thereof. Okay, so let's go into phase number 1. So this is the phase where things proposed acquisition, so a project concept or a potential opportunity to the supply, so the pre-request for a proposal. And here we speak about like strategy or formulation and implementation. And so this is chapter number 3 for us. So, I mean, you're doing a whole subject on it. How do we formulate? How do we think about? How do we propose a opportunity, a concept into a implemented idea of thing? Okay, so the deal creation phase focuses on bringing an agreement, mainly by contract, written thing, by 2 or more parties, sometimes more. It could be like a tripartite agreement for mutual advantage. And this is colloquially referred to as the brokering or striking the deal. The handshake, that is the phase we're looking at here, where it's sometimes getting down into the really nitty-gritties, but it's also then thinking about, okay, we've now made the agreement, $20 million contract or 20 billion rand, whatever, and we shake or we broker the deal. We sit down around the table and we agree for everyone's mutual advantage. So you can think of all the things related to deal creation. And then the final phase here, we're talking about involves implementing, delivering, and fulfilling the commitments made during those prior stages, so the deal creation stage and the contract thereof. So execution has been adopted because of its legal connotation. So an executed contract is one where provisions have been fully performed by both parties. This stage is sometimes referred to as project implementation or contract management because the contract is in place and we just need to manage the things around what the contract says. So I think that is a good definition for each phase, and we're going to get into kind of like this framework again. So on the top section, we have the demand side. On the bottom, we have the supply. So it's similar, sometimes the same, but not always. So here's the first key. So there's a strategy formulation, which is the first gate, and then it moves to strategy implementation. So from a demand side, if you're buying something, there's a requirement identification. You need to identify, okay, I'm a tech company. I need a specific kind of computer. It needs to have these specific requirements. So I'm looking to buy computers or machines with certain requirements. I need to identify, preferably written down, what these requirements are. If you are selling, you have an opportunity that you can identify which, oh, here's this new tech company. I can sell them this gaming computer, which will sort their need out. So I have many gaming computers because I bought so many computers and because I thought I was going to be a gaming supply, but now they can use the same gaming chip for this this high-end computing requirement that they need. So that's kind of the nuance there. It's a similar thing, but it's not the same. It moves to opportunity development or requirement specification. So formulate the strategy, implement the strategy. Identify the requirements, move to requirements specification. All of these R's, if you think back to the best practice, are gates. There's a gate there and there and there. Basically like quality gates. I can't remember the exact word now. It's not coming to me, but it will. These are the like auditing points, the gates there. Okay, so once you've now spec'd out your requirements, you then go from a buyer's into solution selection. So you now make a choice. Then you move to the asset or the service procurement side of things, like, okay, what's it going to cost me? You get to talking to the suppliers. And then after that point, you then award. Now, here's the deal creation phase and when it kicks in. So at that point of asset or service procurement, or the proposition development for the buying side. So the selling side. So if we move, okay, this is the gamer guy who has these laptops and wants to sell it to the tech company. He makes a opportunity development. He makes a proposal identification. Then he's developing this proposition. And then at this point, we start with the deal phase. Once he then gets awarded, now the execution. So once the hand gets shaked, okay, it's all good. Then you supply the assets. So now you, as the person with the gaming laptops, need to supply these assets and service according to what the contract says, as well as maintain them according, again, to what the contract says. And this last little bit is termination thereof. So asset disposal or termination. Most contracts, as we said, has to have end of life procedures. So when will this computer come to an end, and what will happen when it does come to an end of its life? Usually, it's for computers, it used to be 5 years. It's less now. I would guess somewhere around 3.5 to 4 years. Some of the higher end, more longer lasting servers, they are 7 years. I do know that. But someone, please also correct me in the chat if you know. So those are all the supplying side. In terms of the buying side, you then take asset receipt, service maintenance, and the asset usage thereof. These are your management babies right there. So you need to manage how these pieces are used by your staff. You can't just let them load games and play games. You actually need to manage how and when and why they're using these things and manage it appropriately. So in summary, I could wrap this whole chapter 8 on this framework picture or this commercial management figure. Because I've touched on everything now. The next, what is that, 80 slides, 70 odd, is all about the detail and the nitty-gritty. And that's kind of, yes, where it is at, right? So we're, again, going through the intent phase. They break it down. And I'm not going to go through this because I've touched on it a lot. And now, in terms of the demand side and the supply side. So in the intent phase, you want to understand the relationship between the purchaser's procurement procedures and the supplier's bid cycle. You also need to explain client purchasing objectives and the purchasing decision making. You will also need to evaluate client procurement policies and procurement route assessment criteria. As I said earlier, we all have a procurement department and they all have certain policies in place. So we can evaluate internally our own procurement system or policies or assessment criteria, as well as then clients, the other clients. And why do we need to do this? When we are evaluating a client's procurement policy, we're doing it with the intention of selling them something so that we can meet the requirement and sell to them regularly or without too many issues that pop up. Does that make sense? Just going to check in with you guys. I can't, I'm sharing the screen. I can't see hands, so please just interrupt me whenever you need. Okay, so moving to the brief making statement or, the definition. Brief making is a radical searching process that a client and his advisors, and they say they're particularly in-house executives, must go through to explore and conclude on the nature of client's business in order to decide on an appropriate solution. This is around requirements, brief making, those specifications. And then, the objective of procurement is essentially to buy the correct materials. Now, that can be at the right price, in the right quantity, and at the right time. So they don't want to spend too much money. They also don't want to spend too much money too soon. They also don't want to buy too much. So there at the bottom it says the overall aim is to meet the purchasers and the user's needs, accounting for specific quality and service legal requirements, such as time constraints, cost effectiveness, and affordability. So that's the main aim. So stage gate review, that's what it is. So those R's are stage gate reviews. That's the word I was looking for. And that's from the Gateway Process Review 1 of one of the best practice tools that we covered in chapter 7. So wherever you see those R's, these are stage gate reviews where an appropriate like review should be undertaken to confirm the compatibility with the overall objective, linking it back to the strategy, the vision, the purpose of the company. So these decisions are not made lightly. There's a couple of ways in which you can do this. There's certain criteria. Each company has their own. If maybe they have a more manufacturing flavor, it's depending on that. Technical, computer technical, there's a different kind of standard for those types of choices. But you just need to know and understand that, okay, solution selection, there needs to be some kind of criteria. Your choice needs to be well thought out and ranked. So making choices about the source of the assets, components, goods, materials, etc., and whether or not to make it in-house or to outsource to buy it. Economic products lie along a goods services continuum, with pure goods at one extreme and pure services at the but most of them belong to extremes. So when you talk about solutions, think about assets and capital goods, so services and capabilities, complex products and systems. So these are generally high-tech, high-value capital goods, also possibly subcontracting or outsourcing these type of solutions. This also touches on supply chain management. When we look at this framework and the supply and demand side of things, there's a lot of supply chain management here. So you need to think about how these processes integrate and how you manage them, how you can coordinate the tasks. There's a aspect of, at the bottom there, cross-functional relationships which need to be maintained and upheld. So really you need to be cognizant of the whole supply chain in order to make the best decision. So if you're on the far end of the spectrum of looking at your disposal end, maybe you pick up something there and then you can know and think about, okay, this needs to be sorted out from when the deal gets created, or even earlier than that, from a requirements analysis. Like, we need this specific requirement to be identified and sourced or quoted on. Okay. So they talk about procurement oversight here as the heading. So project management, which is like in-house executives or consultant advisors. They're just highlighting the different ways in which you can manage the project. So in-house or outsourced, essentially. Here we go to procurement systems. So this gets more to the nitty-gritty side of it. So you can, I think we all know about, not SAPS, SAPS, yes, SAPS, not the South African Police Services, but the accounting service, SAPS. It does have it can link to your entire supply chain management, but also it's mainly a procurement system where you think about like a traditional contracting of procurement system is like design, bid, and build. There's some sequential designs, and then there's accelerated. But the integrated procurement systems is like there's a football stadia case study in the textbooks where they design and build with like an integrated procurement system. There's package deals, and then the last one is turnkey. Their example is I'm going to butcher the name, but Olkiluoto 3 nuclear power plant. I think that one is in Japan, where turnkey means just like complete solution. So a procurement system where if you're buying something, you're buying the entire system as a whole, and it's all functional as a unit, and that's what you're purchasing. Build, own, operate, transfer. These are boot. Also BOO, which is build, own, operate. Different types of procurement systems here. These ones are generally under your tech companies, or I've heard of fruit guys who do it this way. Farmers, that is, so they build their own, they operate, and then they transfer. Or design, fund, build, operate. That's more for your tech startups. They design, they get funded, they build it, and then they operate it. Design and manage. And again, these are just different procurement systems. Private finance initiative. So this is the London Underground, which is the public-private partnership, and then Partnership for School, also a program in the UK. The case study, I think that we covered last week with the ITPP, that one, IFPP, what's it called? That is one of the, it has connotation there with the private finance initiative, the PPP, public-private partnerships. Okay, management-oriented systems, which is mediated project coalitions. So like a consultancy construction management group, or contracting management contracting, and so forth and so forth. And we can go all the way down with a whole bunch of procurement systems. But I'm going to move along here because, yeah, to me, this doesn't give you anything to kind of work off of. Where I want to get to is, so you can kind of, yeah, if you have the textbook, it's interesting to read about Heathrow Terminal 5 case study. But you can skip slide number 26 and 27. Right. Here's another delivery stage gate review. Opportunity development. This is where I think we can kick back up. So the decision to bid. So a few contractors will actually decline an invitation to tender. However, a policy decision still needs to be made about submitting a bona fide tender. So the factors that influence the decision, so the type of job or project type, the current workload, size of the contract, the project size, the need for work, and all of these other factors come into play here when we speak about opportunity development. And this slide now, if I can refer back to the commercial management framework, I think it was number 5. Let's go. No, it was this one, slide number 8. So this is where they are. So they're on the supplier side, and they're talking about opportunity identification and development. So over there, so that's where they are over in terms of just like getting an idea of where things are at the moment. Yeah, opportunity development. Okay, so these are the factors that influence the decision to develop that opportunity, or to bid, like they say. The initial decision whether or not to submit a bona fide tender is crucial. If you aren't in it, you can't win. So you need to be in the game to kind of play the game. Tend to accept unless there are good reasons for not doing so. So cover price, which is now illegal in the UK. Acceptance commits the contractor to expending, in some cases, large sums of money in preparing tenders which will not be recovered if the bid is unsuccessful. And we know this for fact in South Africa as well. Sometimes you can spend company resources and many hours, many engineers' hours trying to bid for something only to be outdone by someone else. And you can sometimes throw away, hundreds of hours of engineers' hours and work and resources, and you can't recover those funds, those hours. It's kind of lost. So that's also something that needs to be considered carefully when from the seller's point of view, from the supply side.
Sorry, sir.
Okay.
Caesar,
Yes.
Can I ask if you can just go back to the previous slide?
Sure. This one.
Yes. Can you just go over cover price again? I didn't get that one.
So cover price is, let me try and find a good example. I don't have a practical example. And I'm going to ask Dr. Google cover price illegal example. Okay, so cover pricing is a legal context which refers to a form of bid rigging where competitors collude to submit artificial high-price tenders to ensure a specific competitor wins the contract while appearing to have competition. So it's like it's collusion. Long story short, it's collusion. So that, let's say, for example, you, if I may ask, where do you work, Caesar?
Must I state the company name?
No, just industry.
Oh, it's scientific research.
Scientific research.
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. So I have, I can give you a lot of context for this. So in scientific research, there's maybe, let's use the Western Cape. Myself and you, maybe we're friends. We're both at CPUT, but we both have friends at UWC across the road. We often go there, drink some beer. We drive to Cape Town a lot, so we go to a pub there. We drink some beer with some other colleagues there. And Stellenbosch is a good party, so we go up to Stellenbosch and have some commerce parties as well. So now we're 5 friends. We are in a scientific research community. It's a niche industry. Bidding for tenders is a common game. Maybe you want to do something through the NRF. So you 5 friends now decide, okay, it's a big pool, and we all want to get, we all want to get ahead in our jobs and portfolios. So you know that there's 5 calls down the line, and you 5 friends decide, okay, we're all going to put in our tenders, our proposals to be awarded research funding from the government. But we are all going to send proposals that are all high except for one friend from Stellenbosch. And then the next round number 2, when that second call goes out, we'll all put in a bid high except for friend number 3. And you'll randomize it, and you'll try to make it seem that it's all fair, and it just happens, the best guy just happens to win. But you've all colluded, and that's illegal. Because now you're falsifying proposals or bids and you're cheating the government out of money. And so that's why it's illegal. So cover price. And that can be in any industry. I just used your example, or your and my example, because that also can possibly happen in a very niche research area, and I think you can understand that way.
I think it makes sense.
and like, this is not uncommon. Like, I think I literally have friends with Stellenbosch, and we're in the same industry, and it's very small. And so I think it's the same for all other industries, whether it be mining, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, and you can name the list. Okay, so thank you for that. Moving to, I think the next slide, which is slide number 31. ANSOF suggests that contractors have the following options: reject the opportunity to bid, provisionally accept the project, or unconditionally accept the ITT. And I'm blanking on ITT. It'll probably come up in a second. Okay, in practice, the supplier's options are simply acceptance or rejection. The bid or no bid decision is a dynamic and complex one, so the decision is likely to be made by a group of people rather than one individual, also to prevent any tenderpreneurship, if you want to call it. I think that's the term South Africans came up with because it was rife. Okay, and then we speak again about the stage gate review. And as I said, like, all of these slides are going through each of those blocks in a lot of detail. Now, we are in phase number 2, which is the deal creation phase, or the deal creation within the framework. And as we said earlier, this focuses on the processes and actions undertaken to bring the agreement into existence. So that speaks, again, we've subdivided this into so it's like 3 subsections: asset and service procurement, proposition development, and awarding of the contract. I'm not going to go into the details of this. I am going to tell you guys, you must go to the detail of this in a second. We will get to the last phase, and then there's a nice little summary that I can show you guys. Okay, so here we talk about things like determining bid strategy and evaluating bidding tactics. So here's the negotiation side of things: evaluating factors that influence this bidding success, analyzing the risk and uncertainty related to bidding, describing major types of bidding models, identifying components of a proposal. So what makes a proposal? What is a good tendering? Determining what good tendering is, or good bidding practice, and then the key factors in negotiation. So this phase is a speciality or subspeciality on its own within the legal section of things. There's on TV, they call them closers or deal negotiators. So there's lawyers or legal people specifically skilled and studied at this phase alone. Okay, there's different procedures: open, closed, negotiated, competitive dialogues, each with their own different definitions. I would say the key principles here to note are good practice, right? So clear procedures follow. The tender process should ensure receipt of compliant competitive tenders. Tender lists should be compiled systematically. Tender lists should be as short as possible, etc., etc. So that's from CIB. Pre-qualification, the clients to consider. And these are all the requirements. There's different single-stage tenders, two-stage, formal presentation, supply selection, etc. And then here they talk about bid evaluation or multi-criteria evaluation. There's factors like commercial, technical, and financial. So the evaluation criteria is further grouped down again into 3 subsections, looking at compliance, acceptance, and then there's like performance, quality, warranties, life cycle cost comparisons. And it really, as I said, it really goes quite deep into these things. I want to just highlight this slide here. Relying on lowest price is not always the client's best interest. You know, we speak about value for money for a reason. So we don't necessarily want to always choose the cheapest thing, because inherently we know maybe the cheapest thing is cheap for a reason, because it might, you know, just break after using the thing 5 times, and then it just breaks after a month, for example. So there's other factors which you are told here to look at, and I've summed that up there in value for money, etc. I'm going to move through here. These are some of the factors to look at. Contract terms most frequently negotiated. So these terms you should know and go and find out. So these are often, when you're negotiating a deal, if you hit these things, you're pretty much good. So what is limitation of liability? Who is limited to the liability if things go wrong? Indemnification. Who's indemnified? Who's not indemnified? What's the price or the charge or the price changes? What do we, you know, what's that going to look like if the if the diesel price goes up? You know, if petrol price change, are we fixed? Are we not fixed? Are we linked? Etc. IP, intellectual property. What's the payment arrangement? And liquidated damages. So if you have all of these things in your contract, you're pretty much set up on a good standing. Specifically as it relates to like the deal creations. So those are the things you need to go to the table and say like, okay, how is this going to be sorted? When are you going to pay? What time of day? How much? To which account? All of those kind of things, right? Then there's more. Performance guarantees, delivery, applicable law, jurisdiction, warranties, insurance, etc. The list really does go on. So you can, you know, I'm not going to ask you all how many of these. I think it's like 20 or something. And this is adapted from the IACCM, which is one of the best practice as well from chapter 7. You can just pick like 5 to 10. Know 10 out of your head. Be able to talk about them, and you'll be fine. Yeah. This proposition development is from the other side, the supplier side. I'm not going to go through that right now. You can definitely go through that. Bid price determination. Here's where we can talk about success or failure of a bid is significantly influenced by the formulation of the bid price, which, I mean, it's obvious, right? Nothing more to say there. The price determines usually success or failure. Pricing policies and systems, as well as these pricing policies within business policies, business objectives, and pricing strategies. Okay, so pricing systems, you just need to know that there's cost-related systems or market-related systems, as well as competitor-related systems. It's not so important to know, oh, okay, this market-related system, you know, is it does this, and the cost-related system does that, or the competitor-related system does that. Again, I want you to be cognizant of the fact that, yes, they give you all of this information, but it's to flesh out the framework. So the framework is the skeleton, and they've now given you some things to flesh out. But I mean, I can't ask you. I can ask you this chapter can be 100 marks on its own. So you must also be aware that I can only ask at most maybe 20 marks in a final exam about, you know, the framework, talk about the deal creation, talk about the intent phase, talk about that, and then give me, you know, 3 or 4 things that are important in there, and you will see from the case study as well. Okay, so bidding and pricing tactics, things to just know that might happen. So, and you guys do this all the time as well. So some of you are good negotiators. I wonder if you are actually in here. For example, Mr. Zondi, if he's in here, you can put his hand up. You know, very good negotiator, very good negotiation skills, and I'll tell you why. Is because seeking an extension to the submission date. That's a typical student thing to do. Maybe sometimes there's a tactical withdrawal of a bid or overpricing, as we said. It is a bidding tactic. I think everyone has sold something on Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree or any one of these platforms. You price the thing a little bit more than what you actually want. So it's a bidding or pricing tactic so that you get the price you want. So if you want to sell a car, you know, you want 100,000. Okay, I'm gonna put it up for 109,000. Then, you know, someone's gonna come in at 90,000, and then I'm gonna go to 105, and then they're gonna go to 95, and then I'll just say, okay, let's settle on 100,000. So then so it's a bidding tactic. Tactical pricing is maybe another thing. So I'm going to skim over that. You guys can kind of flesh that out for yourself as well. Again, know 3 or 4 of these tactics. Know how they can be applied in your various businesses or industries. And then some more theory. Setting the bid price, things to think about there. Factors influencing the bid price decision. Obviously, risks or risk involved in the investment, degree of difficulty, size of the contract, need for work, uncertainty. So again, coming back to proposition development. Why did it jump back here? Yes. Here is the risk and uncertainty chapter number 5 again. So factors relating to the bidding process of the project itself, the purchaser of the professional team, the bidding process itself, and moving now to bidding models. So you can model things based on probability theory, multiple regression models, neural network models, or novel pricing approaches. E-auctions and game theory is also different bidding strategies. Yeah, so that is the the pre-contract phase of the deal creation, the bid, and then now we talk about the award. Assuming that the pre-award negotiation phase leads to the establishment of a common understanding, a meeting of minds or mutual agreement on the formation of the contract can now be awarded. So it's basically assigned or granted to the successful individual or organization. So, I mean, nothing really exciting there. Always like that's probably the exciting part, but there's nothing more to say. Prince2 provides a template. The lessons report the process managing stage. Boundaries can be utilized at this point. So you can just do like a review essentially. Okay, some procurement best practices. You can read through that. You can note it down. It's a nice bullet thing to try and remember and talk about variations, communication, uncertainty. Okay. It says deal creation there, but I think it should mean the execution phase. Demonstrate an understanding of the contract management procedures, the execution, yes. So this is now the last phase, the final phase, where we talk about execution, which addresses the commercial procedure and tasks involved in implementing or delivering, fulfilling the commitments made during that deal creation stage. So now the rubber hits the road, and it's kind of like time to operate, time to do the thing, and all the activities, processes, and cycles that are related with that. So they call it the post-award activities because they've been awarded the contract, and now it's like post, after the award activities. Things like provision of specialist advice, managing, administrating the commercial and contractual issues, post-award subcontract management. So these activities may include procuring subcontractors and materials, managing, administering commercial and contractual issues. Performance measurement. So, managing the performance of the suppliers and subcontractors. And this is a key activity for both sides, the demand side and the supply side. This OGC, the gateway, identifies two aspects, which is service delivery and feedback and communication. And then another way is to benchmark or continuous improvement. 58. No, this thing has now jumped again. Is that right? Where am I? It's jumped again. I wonder why it's doing that. Very strange. Okay. So what does this look like practically? So I can share an example from my own from my own life, from my own experience. Again, we'll go back to the facility that I helped my boss create and design and like do all the grunt work on. He was the lead engineer. I was just basically the technician, giving him all the data, running around and doing all the things. He was also running around, but yeah, I'm trying to get to. I wasn't doing anything. Or I wasn't at the time. I was not qualified, or I was doing my BTech. So it was really in this, like, they had built a facility. It was a Keystone type of Keystone. What's it called? Keystone. Turnkey solution that the company had provided, and it was they had been awarded the contract, and so now it was the post-award phase where they had made all these promises in terms of the output of the machine can be so many kilograms per hour. The quality can be this much. We will provide support for a year. If things go wrong, we'll be able to come out at night. So now we are operating this facility, or operating within this facility. The machines are running, but it kept getting like there were so many issues, and not just like normal teething issues of like starting a new thing. We couldn't get to this like amount or this tonnage per hour that they were talking about. The quality was the quality output of the machine was not where it should be. There were so many issues, and so they had a subcontractor. The company it is a French company. They had a South African subcontractor, which sorted out all of the post-award things like servicing of the equipment, making sure the performance management was there, making sure that all the machines were maintained for the year after the client with us had bought the machines. So they were kind of like taking care of us, right, for all of our needs. And we would constantly flag all of these issues, and this is why it worked, because we would show them, or we'd say to them, okay, no, this is how much we got. We know we're so much output on this day, and then after months we'd say, okay, the feedback is like, you're not meeting the service delivery of getting us X amount of output. So your end of the bargain is not being met. We paid for something and now it's not being delivered. So either you need to send us another one, like millions of rands machine, or you need to come and fix this thing. So they flew out specialists from France, 2 of them, one for the day shift, one for the night shift. And these guys stayed here for a month. And so we talk about, I saw the term there, specialist. Where is it now? I'm going to get to it and then it'll make sense. Post contract provision. Yeah, activities include provision of specialist advice. So we had access to these specialists, but it was only because we had followed the due procedure of like giving them feedback, keeping them in the loop. We had it written down in the contract that, you know, like they're not meeting the performance that they had promised us. You know, telling them that service delivery wasn't met. And so that can be from their side, they then started to monitor us and say, oh, but your operators are not doing funny things on the machine. So they could like, they would sign in randomly and start to like audit us and check up on us, like, oh, what's the operator doing of the machine? And so it was a nice little run around there for about six to 8 months. So it really can get, I mean, obviously it's expensive. Like these guys to put up 2 guys, 2 specialists from the company to come and sort this out, cost them a lot of money. So, you know, it shows that from both ends, the supply side as well as the buying side, you need to hold that and keep that relationship management intact, because you kind of want to keep them as friends for the next 20 years because they might buy something more from you, or they can be like, you know, your access into the market. Like if you are kind of like a flagship for them, like, okay, they were the first people to have this machine, and so you want to get into Africa or South Africa, and so kind of that successful project can be a bragging right, like a flagship thing, flagship stores to like, oh, go look here, look and see what we can do. We can give you this kind of thing, this kind of output with these kind of results. So that's my story. I'm gonna kind of end it there. They talk about risk management and all that stuff, but I do want to get into the phase of the lecture where we speak about and share and talk about the case study. So I've dropped it into the WhatsApp chat. So all of you have it there or in Blackboard. It is in a Word format so that you can work on it or type in it. I'm going to split, okay, you're only 26, which is quite sad because we're a class of 90 plus. I'm going to split you into 2 groups. The invariably, some of you will stay in the main room, this main chat. You will be the 3rd group. So you guys must just start to talk. You know, you must nominate a spokesperson. That person is either going to take notes and drop those notes into the Google Sheet, not Google Sheet, Google Doc. So you can type it up. You don't have to speak. I will speak on your behalf. You must just either you want to speak, at which point you're welcome to do that. I'm happy for it. Or you must put it in a Google document and I will speak and talk to it for you. You will go through group 1. I'll go into the rooms and I'll say, okay, you are group 1. You're speaking about phase 1, the intent phase, the first phase. Okay, you are group 2. You will be, so room 1, you will be group 1. Room 2, you will be the second phase. That let me get it right. the deal creation phase and all of the things associated with that. Group 3, you are in the main room. You will be talking about discussing the execution phase of the case study. Is that clear? Can I get a thumbs up? Can I get some more thumbs up then? 1, 2, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 of you know what's going on. There are 27 in the room, 5. All right, I'm gonna trust that those 5 or 6 people will be able to lead the rest of you. So I'm gonna stop recording now, and then I'll record again when we come back in. So I'm gonna give you guys 30 minutes. So that brings us to 7:40, right? 7:40, we'll come back in here, and then we'll feedback, and then we'll talk about the last little bit of the case study. Right, thanks guys. Let me just mute myself and I'll send you to the rooms.